Sort of unpack that a little bit. What does that mean in more depth? You know, where were you at mentally with that?
Yeah. When I would say happy, I mean, obviously, you know, I love my kids and my friends and my family and all those things. So it wasn't like this terrible dread of like I didn't like anyone around me. What it basically was I guess an inward examination of who I was and what I was doing with my life and how I didn't really like myself. I was pursuing something that I wasn't passionate about, that I wasn't really interested in, but I was doing it out of a sense of I don't know, obligation, what I'd sort of been raised to believe, societal, I don't know, I wouldn't say pressures, but societal norms. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. There's nothing wrong with being a business person. There's nothing wrong with working hard for money or wealth or whatever you want. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. But it wasn't what I was passionate about. I wasn't interested in it. And it was just basically, I'd created this, it's like this world, or it's a cage, I guess. And it wasn't a cage, but metaphorically a cage that I put myself into. You know, I had to do this to produce this, to pay all these bills, to maintain this lifestyle, to continue down this path. And I just wasn't happy with it. And, you know, it wasn't the cage that I built. It was me, the fact that I built it myself. I was trapping myself in this sort of this dogma of doing these things. And it was like, you know, when you're digging a hole that you don't want to be in, stop digging. And, you know,
Yeah.
I guess there was that moment that came when I said, man, I just got to stop digging and figure out what's going on here with me. And I think that was it. It was more internal self unhappiness than anything else around me.
And in my day job, I work with a lot of people around sort of weight loss and sort of lifestyle change. And we talk about light bulb moments. So when you're digging that hole and you decide it's time, was there anything particular or was it just time to move and change the way you were going?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, the earthquakes it put so much stress on me, and it made me examine that I'd spent so many years working for all these things to build up, and then within 10 seconds of you know, an earthquake, most of what I had was taken away. And I thought, well, I'll be fine because I have all these insurances. And then I learned that the rules change when the amounts of money get bigger, and you know, what you think you're covered for in life changes in an instant. And it really made me examine what I thought was safe and secure, and all the planning in the world could basically, you could have the rug pulled from underneath you at any moment. And I think, you know, probably we could all relate to that with COVID and the pandemic over the last few years, that things can change that we have no control over. So the earthquakes taught me this, and they made me really like examine how I thought about my life, what I thought was safe and secure, and what was important was to make the most of each moment. You know, we lost in the city, there were about 100 and, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Christchurch residents, about 183 lives were lost, and a lot of people injured, permanent injuries with things falling on them. And, you know some of the people that died. And this was like, you know, in an instant, those people were living their lives. Everything was planned. Everything was set. They were going to retire at 65, etc., etc. And then like that, everything changes, you know? And I thought, man, am I living the life that I would, if that happened, you know, again, at any moment, would I actually have done the things I wanted to do in my life? And the answer was no. And on so many levels. And I didn't really like who I was as a person after that happened. That earthquake sort of triggered something, you know, it's like it shook something inside of me that said, man, you're not really living. You're existing, you're functioning, but you're not living. So that's when sort of the clock started, I guess. And it took a few years, obviously. It's like a slow fuse, burned away. And then it came to a moment, probably about 3-4 years down the track after the quakes, about 3 years down the track, where I had sort of a light bulb moment.